Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the State of Sports Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matt Leong.
I'm Nick Cacario.
And today we are bringing you a very special episode. This one, for anyone listening in, it's going to be hot. There might be some raised voices because if you don't already know what we're talking about by the title of the video, you should know by now. It's the Warriors and the Lakers. We're going to talk about these two incredible franchises and just go head to head. Nick and I are just going to facilitate. We're just going to take a step back, ask a couple questions to guide the conversation. But we actually have two guests on today to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers, respectively. So, our guests, can you guys introduce yourselves to the people?
My name is Krish Sharma, number one Lakers fan in the Bay Area, greatest franchise of all time, Lakers 2020 champs.
Ryan Day.
He's already scared to get into it.
He is scared to get into it. We are recording this literally days removed from the Lakers winning a championship, so we probably not the greatest timing because Krish has not only a Krish has got the Lakers shorts on. He not only has the emotional edge of his team winning a championship, but also just the straight up facts that his team won a championship. So,
Astro champion.
Oh, hold on, guys. Before we get into it, I just want to talk about first. Let's just talk about dominance because obviously, Krish, I'm gonna let you go second because I know you could already lead off and talk about the Laker dominance, but I know we want to look back, Ryan, to the Warrior dominance. You know, that little 4-year window of just absolute dominance. You want to talk about that? Just go back and forth on the dominance piece.
I mean, the first game I went to was in 2007 when they played Oracle. And ever since then, they got Steph in 2009, right?
2009, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Ever since they got Steph, it was a completely different shift in where they're going to. I think once Monte got traded to Milwaukee and when Steph was really the face of the franchise, that started that run, that epic run of just when did Monte get traded? 11?
11.
10, right? 2011? Around
11.
there?
I think it was 2011, right after they got Klay Thompson.
And right after the moped accident, right, and all that stuff happened with him. Yeah, but ever since then, can I swear on this?
I mean, we could bleep Nick. It's just more work for Nick. You could bleep it out.
If it's more work, no. They killed it. This guy over here, he was hurting so bad that he became a LeBron fan. The Lakers were sucking so bad, and they just happened to get LeBron after. Oh, we're gonna get PG. We're gonna get Kyrie. We're gonna get all these people. LeBron, and you switched over. Just give you some context. No, I know their dominance, but I can't let this go to waste. He used to be the biggest LeBron hater in the world. He used to hate LeBron. It was Kobe over LeBron. Rest in peace, Kobe. But the Warriors' dominance, go back. The Warriors' dominance in those 4 years was something that I don't think we're ever going to see again as far as that epic of a run in a long time.
So I actually will agree with him on that. I think that Warriors team, especially the 2017 and 2018 teams with KD, are probably some of the best NBA teams we've ever seen. In terms of dominance, I do think it is because of Steph Curry. I think he is the catalyst. I think he's the one who changed that whole culture, the roster, everything down to the basics of that team. I think it's all because of Steph Curry and a little bit of Klay and Draymond. But in terms of dominance, I can't argue with that. I agree. That 4 or 5 year stretch where the Warriors were number one was amazing, and you probably won't see shooting replicated like that ever again. You know, we've seen the Houston Rockets try to do it, but every year they fizzle out because they can't replicate what the Warriors have done. And so I agree. In terms of dominance, that was one of the best teams ever. But sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, dude. But Krish, I want to give you the opportunity to just kind of relish in what just happened. So I'm going to let you go however long you need, man. Just go into it. Nick, do you have anything to say? Anything to comment?
Let's start in July of last year when AD first came to the Lakers. I remember this guy sitting right here to my right kept telling me, "Oh, Kawhi's not coming. You guys all said it. Kawhi's not coming."
He didn't come.
Oh, let me finish. So yes, Kawhi didn't come, but it didn't matter, right? That's the whole thing. It didn't matter. The team was so dominant between LeBron and AD that having Kawhi made no difference. The team that we put together, all the Clippers could talk about was, you saw the commercials of Kawhi Leonard. He had the little king crown keychain in his car. They were talking about, oh, LA our way. None of that mattered because the Lakers stuck by. It was all about championships, and that's what they kept it as. And honestly, I think you saw one of the most dominant performances by any team ever in the playoffs. There are multiple NBA players who will come out and say, who have already come out and said that the bubble championship is one of the hardest championships ever won because of the mentality, the focus, and everything that goes into being isolated for 100+ days. And in terms of the Lakers being able to dominate 4-1 against Portland, who everyone considered the best number 8 seed of all time. Then you have the Rockets, who were considered a huge matchup nightmare for the Lakers. They would not be able to guard the shooting. And then you have the Nuggets, who everyone said they beat the Clippers. They're better than the Lakers. The Clippers were better than the Lakers. And if the Nuggets beat the Clippers, then the Nuggets got to be better. And we saw dominance through 3 rounds, 4-1. And I will give it to the Miami Heat. They were probably the hardest working team that we played against and the hardest matchup that we had. But 6 games, 2 of them blowouts. It wasn't even close. You saw one of the most dominant performances by the greatest player of all time, LeBron James. Yes, that is true. Greatest player of all time.
I'm not denying that. I don't know what you're looking at me for.
I
was a fan of his before you were a fan of his.
Did you know that Scottie Pippen leads Michael Jordan in all 6 NBA finals in every statistical category besides points?
Okay, all right, boys, let's bring it back.
anyone know
That's
that?
not a LeBron Jordan debate.
That's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother episode.
But I'm just letting you guys know that the most dominant and greatest player of all time won 3 championships with 3 different teams, 3 finals MVPs, or 4 of them with 3 different teams. He's the best.
So why don't you stick to one team and grind it out?
Okay, all right. We're gonna break there from the dominance. Nick, do you have a topic that you want them to talk about?
No, man. What do you? I actually want to comment.
Yeah, go ahead, comment away.
I gotta say, okay, first, to Ryan's point, it's kind of like when, like, I'm trying to say, if you know about kind of like about soccer, about how managers win with certain teams and then they move from team to team. It's like you still got to prove something, and it's also like gratification for the player or the person or whoever goes and wins somewhere else. Like, hey, I could do this somewhere else. Like Moneyball. Imagine if Billy Bean went to Boston and won there. Like, he could prove that, like, oh, his system works. I think that's kind of what LeBron wanted to do. He wanted to show that he could prove that he could win without like a system built around him. And I don't want to delve into the Jordan debate, but keep in mind, Jordan had a system around him which helped him succeed. LeBron is his own system, so he is imposing his will not only on the court but also off the court with the decisions and everything that the front offices have to make. So for him to lead his team to a championship, I don't want to say he's the greatest player of all time, but 100% greatest player of his generation.
He's top 3.
So to that, if I could just throw this out, I don't need to answer anything. But Jordan had Scottie Pippen from the very early on ages of his career. They were together for most of their prime. If LeBron and D Wade got together, let's say 2006, 2007, instead of 2010, don't you think that they would have as many rings as Jordan and Pippen did?
Probably have one more, but the thing about D Wade and LeBron is that early on in their careers, they weren't as good shooters as they were later in their careers. Like, and even then, even the strength of the Miami team wasn't jump shooting. We all knew that once you made Miami early 2010s a jump shooting team, that team was going to lose. And And that's what the San Antonio Spurs did, like to win those championships, and the Dallas Mavericks did to win those championships. Not to mention LeBron absolutely like laying an egg in one of those games. But still, that I think it comes from a style aspect that you need with Kyrie, is that he's a ball stopper. So it kind of takes away aspects of LeBron. D Wade, he's not really a jump shooter, so it's not like LeBron can consistently dish it out and pass for high efficiency. When you look at AD, that's a guy that he can run the pick and roll with, obviously a common play in basketball. And from there, he can use not only himself, but AD to kind of distribute the wealth throughout the team. And I think that's where AD, I say, has the best value. And I think that's why I want to say, kind of leading into this point, do you think the Lakers can repeat this year? And I want to ask both of you guys, because keep in mind this year we're coming back with a very, very, very healthy, obviously there's going to be a bit of rust, but very healthy Warriors team. So people are already putting out to be the two giants in the West, especially with Daryl Morey now stepping down, and as Matt has video problems, as Daryl Morey stepping down, turmoil in the Clippers organization. Where do you guys see next year? I'm sure you guys both want to put your team in front, and that's speaking from the heart. I want to say the Lakers are better than the Warriors, but speaking from like strictly like analytical, how you're thinking the game, who do you think has a better shot in the West, Lakers or Warriors?
I'll go first. I think it's definitely the Lakers still. When you look at our roster, the only people we have signed throughout this next season are LeBron, AD, or AD is definitely going to re-sign, but he'll be the only other one. Kuzma is under contract. And I believe other than that, Alex Caruso. Those are our 4 players. So we have the cap space and we have the ability to make moves. And fresh off a championship, we saw it with the Warriors in 2018 or even after 2015. Teams, there are players, older veterans who are going to want to chase that ring, and they will come to the Lakers just for that. And, you know, the Lakers, I've seen from Shams and Woj lately that the Lakers are going to make offers for either Victor Oladipo or Bradley Beal. So the ability to upgrade our second scorer can allow LeBron to take a less active role. You know, he'll still be the QB of the Lakers, but he won't have to put in as much, and that was just going to extend his years. And if we are able to get someone like Oladipo, Beal, I think it's over. Like, I don't think anyone can compete with the Lakers, because that was our biggest issue all year long, was an outside creator other than Anthony Davis or LeBron James. I do agree. I think the Warriors are going to be number 2 in the West. I won't count out Steph or Clay. I think those are the 2 greatest shooters of all time. And you add Dre in there, and then I think Wiggins will actually work pretty well in that system if he's there. I think they should keep him. I think he would work pretty well in that system. But even if they trade him, they're going to get some value out of that, whether it's a big man or some bench pieces or something. I think they'll be up there. I think I see the Lakers 1. I see the Warriors as 2.
Coming from Warriors fan, as of right now, October 15th, 2020, we don't know what their lottery pick is. They don't know if they're keeping their pick, trading, signing someone with their they have an absurd amount of cap space, right, to sign on their player this year.
They do, but
so, yeah.
to be also to be fair, let's just clarify this for any fan out there. Joe Lacob does not care about the salary cap.
Nope.
Like, he was
spend it.
he was willing to have a $300 million payroll in 2019 or 2020, but that's when Katie said, "I'm heading to Brooklyn." But the prospect is out there. If the money needs to be spent, Joe Lacob is willing to spend it. And I think the same can go for the Lakers too. Like, both teams are willing to spend at this point with great players in their primes.
Yeah. Yeah, for the Warriors, I don't think there's too much to say. You keep Wiggins and you keep Draymond, or in the pick, or you sign some other bench players and role players that fit in, like the 2016 and 2017 team were so versatile with their bench, especially 2015, especially.
I heard they are targeting Dwight Howard.
I hope not. Oh my God, Jesus!
Great starting.
What they
center.
get?
Are you kidding me?
Why would they need a starting center if they get Wiseman? Isn't Wiseman a center?
Wiseman is a center, and that's currently the projected number 2 pick.
Yeah. So why would
to
you
go
get
to
Dwight out of all people? Anyways, besides that, he could be maybe a good coming off the bench player, playing 10 minutes, picking up 3 fouls here and there just to beat some people up. But but he has played great though. He played great in that playoffs. I think you got to watch out for the Mavericks. I'm honestly gonna say Lakers 1, Mavericks 2, Warriors 3 or 4. The Mavericks are freaking good. They're great.
I don't believe in the Mavs just because
You don't?
Porzingis has.
All right, guys, let's bring it back to this Lakers
Okay,
Warriors
so
discussion.
we got your guys' take. Obviously, Chris says Lakers
Lakers
1,
won.
Warriors 2, and then Ryan, you're saying Lakers 1, but Warriors around the 3 or 4. Obviously, throwing in the Mavs. Let's get that straight. Okay, Matt. What's your next question?
So the next point I want to talk about is the building processes for both teams. Who do you think, like, in essence, did it better? Because you can argue that there is discussion about like who did a better job at building the 2020 Lakers and like the I'm not gonna talk about the KD Warriors because I think that's kind of like I don't want to talk about that. That's not really worth discussing. But the 2015 Warriors, like the buildup of that, because there was key acquisitions. But for the Lakers, they made that big deal with AD, and then they made some really good signings. So where would you put that? Which team did a better job in creating their championship roster, and why?
Honestly, I will say the Warriors did a better job of creating their roster.
Thank you.
Just because that's a roster built through the draft, and that's a roster built for long term. Even going into this year, I was so afraid that AD wasn't going to resign. Even with the championship won, there's still that little Kawhi just won a championship and he left. There's still that little bit that makes you think like maybe he wants to go to Chicago, maybe he wants to be in home where he's from, and he wants to play there. So I will say the Warriors definitely have an organization and the players that are loyal compared to the Lakers of today. You want to talk 10 years ago, obviously Kobe, that's completely different. He was never going to leave, but I see the same thing within Steph. Clay, I'm a little iffy about. I could see him going home to LA one day, but Steph Curry, I see him retiring as a Warrior. So I think in terms of who created the better roster for championships, it was by far the Warriors, because that team was just so well put together. Every single aspect of it was made to work around Steph. And even though this Lakers team was made to work around LeBron, it was still, you kind of have just these pieces that were kind of thrown together at the last stage of free agency after Kawhi decided to go to the Clippers. I saw something Frank Vogel said that the Lakers put together their roster after Kawhi announced to the Clippers in 3 hours. So that just goes to show you, like, it was really just dumb luck, just kind of throwing players that they thought would work with LeBron and AD, compared to where the Warriors, what was it, when they drafted Curry 2009?
It was a good 4-year process.
4 or 5 years of
solid pieces together.
putting a solid team together, putting the pieces that could support that championship run. So I'll give it to the Warriors there. I think they definitely put together a better championship team. But like I said, when you have like the best player in the NBA on your team, it doesn't really matter who you put around him. You know what I mean? Like, the man's been to 9 out of 10, or been to 10 NBA finals.
9 out of I think it's 9 out of 10 at this point.
It's
it's
10
like
out of 11.
10 out of 11.
10 out of 11. That's what it is. Yeah.
It's 4 for 10.
No,
that's
it's 9 out of 10 because that first finals appearance was in like 2007.
So 9 out of 10 within this decade. That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
He's 4 for 10.
He is, but
Yeah.
like
No,
we
that's
said,
still,
he's.
in baseball. That's your MVP if you're batting 400.
But like I said, like
not quite the same logic, but okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying it's a good record. If you have 4 championships, it doesn't matter how many times you've been to the finals. You have 4 rings.
But that's what I'm saying. He also faced those same Warrior squads that we're talking about that had a better championship built roster.
What's their record versus LeBron and the Warriors?
I mean, it doesn't compare. Like, yeah, the Warriors dominated LeBron, but the teams that LeBron was surrounded around compared to the Warriors, that's what I'm saying. Like the Warriors did a better job of putting that team together compared to those Cavaliers teams. So
I think the big thing when you got to look at these two teams is the Warriors are so new. The Warriors built this from 2010 on, really. Like their main foundation, their championship run, their team, they built it within the most recent years. The Lakers have been around for decades. I mean, they're a destination that people want to go to historically. So the ease of building a better team, and they generally have bigger budgets and they, have a bigger star appeal than the Warriors have had in recent years. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the Warriors did a fantastic job building this current team. That's not to say what the Lakers are going to do in 2 to 3 years. If LeBron is serious about playing, 4 to 5 more years, he said?
I think he will. I think he'll play. I think he's in his prime till he's year 20. Like, that man does not age.
The amount he spends on his body to keep it in shape and just healthy, it's like he's serious about it. It's not just it's not a job for him. It's his life.
But that's the other thing you were talking about. Like the Warriors, like I said, they built their team through the draft. The Lakers have always been a team that built through trades. Yeah. Trades and free agents. We have 2 of the biggest free agent signing deals of all time, LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal.
It's Kobe, really.
Kobe was drafted.
Yeah.
Kobe was drafted.
He was traded.
He was traded, after he was drafted by the not Pelicans, the Hornets. But yeah, I think that's the difference is when you have a team that was drafted together and built up together.
Like homegrown, organic.
Exactly. Like that team, like I said, that team's never going like breaking apart. Whereas the Lakers, like you saw, like within 1 year we had to put this together, but next year the team could be completely different. Yeah. So that's the difference, I think.
All right. Well, honestly, Nick, do you have any other comments?
Regarding that? Yeah. So my general take, at least, on that is definitely the Warriors. You have to think that, like Krish said, like Ryan said, organic. Like the fact that they were building it through the draft and developing their players, slowly accumulating pieces that stayed for a while. Guys like David Lee, I feel like is like at least for me is like a long tenured Warrior who never kind of got his fair due, at least towards the end of the Warriors' dominance in this past decade. But if you look at the Lakers, like you said, this roster, no one on this roster was there since 2015, 2016, or 2017 even.
Yeah, so, I think our oldest tenured player is like 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Kyle Kuzma, maybe Alex Caruso since he came through the G League. But obviously, like you said, having that star appeal does help. Normally, bigger budgets does help, but you have to keep in mind now, like you said, Joe Lacob isn't afraid to dip into his wallet, per se. So there lies, I guess, an equalizer between the two teams. But yeah, I definitely have to agree. It's Warriors all the way. The most organically built team. But you do have to think that, like, the Lakers, when you think about it now, you're like, dang, besides Magic, who have they really landed a like awesome draft, like pick themselves?
You have James Worthy, you have Kobe Bryant.
Kobe wasn't even drafted as he was traded on draft night though.
But was it a plan?
Was it a plan?
It was a planned trade. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you get that's fair.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I'm just saying, like, organically drafted position and whatnot. Now, yes, James Worthy was a great pick. But besides that, you're thinking, dang, the Warriors in the past 10 years drafted 2 of the best shooters of all time. How obviously the Lakers drafted Magic, James Worthy, Kobe Bryant, but I don't know. I feel like just like the density of those
the proximity to one another in terms of the
those
draft
those 2 draft picks was just out of this world. I don't think we'll ever see something quite like that, where 2 players are at the top of their specific ability all time.
Drafted 2 years apart.
2 years apart, or very closely apart. So I think that's awesome. Matt, you have another topic?
I do. One last one. And it's kind of regarding the offseason, because we're kind of entering that point in time. And right now there's a lot of uncertainty with when the NBA season is going to start. The next one is, and Woj is going to be up all night, all the time for the next like 3 months. So for you guys, just as fans, I mean, it's not like we're all analysts here. It's just we're a bunch of fans. But for you guys, what is your individual team's like top priority moving into this offseason? I know Ryan kind of alluded to it, and Chris, you did too. But if you could name either one player or one specific move that absolutely should happen, or you would really want to happen before this offseason ends, what is it?
So I just want to say real quick, the Warriors are no longer a small market team.
Oh
I
yeah,
hope you guys
absolutely.
realize
Absolutely.
that is
They're
a
not
big market. They
Yeah.
are as big as the Lakers. They're as big as the Bulls, the Knicks, everything.
They became a big market team. Honestly, in my opinion, once Andre Iguodala decided to sign with the Warriors, because he was like one of the first major stars to be like, because he was a star in Denver, be like, yeah, I'm gonna head to the Warriors. I like what they're doing, and then everyone was like, ooh, let's start taking a look, and then obviously, the floodgates open for like all the old vets plus KD and DeMarcus Cousins, and they're definitely not a small market team anymore. But yeah.
But in terms of the Lakers, I'll tell you both. I think the Warriors need to sign a solid center. I think that's what they need more than anything else, a solid center and some good solid bench pieces. I think that those starting 4 players, Steph, Clay, Wiggins, and Dre, that's one of the best, I think, starting 4s in the league. So you put a good, solid defensive center in that mix, and I think you're set with that Warriors team. In terms of the Lakers, shooters. We need shooters and we need ball handlers. We need someone who can take the load off of LeBron, someone who can bring the ball up, get the offense going. I hope we re-sign Rondo, which is crazy for me to say. I was the biggest Rondo hater, but playoff Rondo is a real thing. And I've seen it firsthand now, and I am 100% believer in that. So I hope we bring back Rondo, but other than that, I want shooters. I really wanted Seth Curry last year, but the Mavs got him. So
They're gonna lock him up now.
Yeah, they'll definitely lock him up. He's a dead eye. So I hope we can sign some shooters to just complement LeBron better than, Danny Green laid an egg this year. KCP was pretty solid, but Kuzma, Caruso, those aren't shooters. Those are more like slashers. So if you could put a solid group of shooters around LeBron, especially towards his twilight years of his career, I think you'll be able to create a solid team that could potentially go back to back.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Warriors go, I think Krish hit it on the head. Big, some length in there defensively, specifically rebounding off the bench as well. Yeah, off the bench, I guess. But, I mean, when you have the pick at number 1, what are you going to –
Number 2.
Number 2, what are you going to probably hopefully draft a power forward or center and have him come off the bench? Wiseman wouldn't come off the bench, would he?
I mean, like at this point, like it's all up for speculation. I really, honestly, my opinion is I hope they draft Obi Toppin. But Wiseman it would be a good pick. I kind of see him as a project though, kind of like just because we've only seen him play 3 games at the university at Memphis University before he ended up leaving. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, you're right though. Like a defensive big, like honestly, like a Clint Capella build would be like pretty nice, but we'll see. The free agent market is really, really barren this upcoming offseason, given that there's a lot of guys going to be re-signing and shooing re-signing. So we'll see.
What Miles Turner is a person they've been kind of eyeing, I hear, but Robert Covington, there's been speculation that they could swoop him up from the Rockets. That'd be nice. That'd be great for them. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Miles Turner is worth it. I don't think you touch him. I don't think you touch his ankles. They already have too much problems with Steph with ankles, so I don't think you want to touch Miles' injuries and all that. He hasn't been healthy. What, past 3 years?
Yeah, he's struggled. But anyway, Nick, any last comments or questions you want to ask the boys?
We could do a broad topic, but at first I want to comment. Regarding the Warriors, how would you guys think about Mitchell Robinson?
I mean, I like him. Defensive big, rim protector. That's something that
I was gonna say, because I was mapping it out in my mind. Okay, so this draft doesn't have a clear consensus number 1 guy. Any team could pick any guy up front, and they'll. At this point, in time, everyone's like, okay, that's a pretty decent pick for number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever. So I'm thinking, what if the Warriors trade down to 8 for the Knicks, get Mitchell Robinson, and probably get 2 second-round picks?
I think Mitchell Robinson's a restricted free agent.
No, he's not. No, he's not a free agent this year. He's got.
Has he got another year?
He's got 1.6 mil on the cap, and he's got a team contract the year after for 1.8. Like, he's really, really cheap. Obviously, that doesn't matter when you have someone who's willing to dip into the pockets. But I don't know. That I'm just throwing that out there. And
it would be solid. It would be solid for sure.
And then, quick last question: what was your favorite memory, like singular moment, as being a fan of your guys' respective teams?
So I just want to touch up on the Mitchell Robinson thing real quick. I think that's the greatest piece the Warriors could get. That's exactly what they need, a defensive rebounding big. They don't need anyone to create their own offense. They don't need any of that.
They don't need Giannis right now.
And he's a pogo stick. He can go up and get it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like the absolute perfect fit for the Warriors. So if they're able to trade him for, and move down to that number 8 pick, and the Knicks are willing to take that, I think that's solid. My favorite memory, it's got to be the 2010 Lakers versus Celtics Game 7 championship. I still remember where I was. I still remember the moment. That was probably the greatest moment I've had as a Laker fan. Even after winning, 10 years later, we won another ring, but that 2010 one, especially over the Celtics, Game 7, could not hit different. So that was my favorite.
Definitely.
That's a good one. I got to go either Steph's corner shot over Anthony Davis versus the Pelicans a few years back in the playoffs.
Oh, in the 15 playoffs, like the first round.
Yeah. Absurd shot. I don't know how that should have been an and one. Yep. Or Steph's Madison Square Garden game, 54 points.
That was I
think put the Warriors on the map for sure. That was okay, we're here. Like, not obviously they still sucked and got beat versus the Clippers, but
there's a fun fact out there. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Kobe is on tape blaming Spike Lee for Steph's 54-point game. He's like, it's your fault for Reggie Miller, it's your fault for Michael Jordan, it's your fault for Steph. So cool little intersection of the franchises right there.
Hey man, Kobe dropped 61 there too. Spike Lee's causing all the problems.
That was the night they were recording Kobe doing work too. That was the night, and they came back, and it was hella funny.
Yeah. Anyway, but guys, thank you so much for coming on, talking about the teams. Really interesting futures for both. With the Lakers just filling out the roster, and the Warriors, can they get back to the chip? With a healthy roster. So it'll be very interesting moving into next season. Hopefully we get to revisit with you guys to check in maybe next season, in the middle of next season, see where your teams are at, and we can revisit this current conversation. But other than that, is there anything else, any last comments that you want to make before we end this little episode here?
Just thanks for having us on. Proud of you guys for the great work you do. Keep it up. And yeah, Lakers 2020 champs, greatest team of all time, LeBron the GOAT, Kobe number 2. You heard it here.
I was waiting for the Lakers 2021.
2021
there we go.
We going back to back 3 deep.
Oh, not 6 in a row?
Not 1, not 2, not 3.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having us on, guys. Really appreciate it. Keep up the fun show. It was fun having us on. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun being on.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right. Well, you're listening to the State of Sports podcast. I'm your host, Matt Leong.
I'm Nick Cacario.
And our guests, Krish Sharma and Ryan Day. We will see you guys in the next one.
Thank you. Later, guys. Hey everyone, it's Nick from State of Sports. Thanks again for tuning in to another edition of the State of Sports podcast. If you don't already know, we are on all of your podcast streaming platforms. That means Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, just to name a few. If you're on Apple, make sure to give us that 5-star rating. It really helps us expand this podcast that much further. Don't forget to check us out on social media. That means at State of Sports Pod on Instagram, at State of Sports SD on Twitter, and we have a YouTube channel, State of Sports. That's right. So for those who are on YouTube, already, thanks for watching. And those who aren't, make sure to give us the like, comment, subscribe, you know, the whole bit. Make sure to turn on those post notifications too, just to give you guys a heads up of when we post. And lastly, don't forget to send us your comments. We always want to improve as a podcast, so your feedback is always greatly appreciated. So once again, this is Nick from State Sports. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.